preparing to live stream. Ooh, we started streaming already. Okay. So I will just put up a wee message. Thank you for joining us. All right. Okay, we are going live on YouTube right now, but we don't have to start till like bang on 12:30, so let's have some music. What kind of hospitality music can we get?
Hairdressers.
Any recommendations? Any tunes?
Hairdressers are so hard.
Hospitality type of piece of music.
Well, it depends. So it's not an edgy barbers. Are we going more for like a hairdressers?
Bossa Nova.
So like, what about some?
Hey, did you see that the Duke of Edinburgh has died?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I can't hear a thing. What kind of hospitality music can we get?
Hairdressers.
Recommendations? Any tunes?
Hairdressers are so hard.
Wait, we've got a big feed.
Well, it depends. So it's not an edgy barbers. Are we going more for like a hairdressers?
Bossa Nova.
So like, what about some?
Hey, did you see
Enter
that
your
the
reg
Duke of
number now
Edinburgh's
over
died?
buyanycar.com,
Yeah.
and you could find out how much your car's worth in under.
Oh, wait a minute. I can't hear a thing. Right, sorry about that. I was getting all kinds of feedback. Can you talk so I can hear you again?
How is that?
Can you hear it?
Hello?
Oh, hello. That's better. Okay, because I was getting some kind of feedback going on, so I've had to shut off the volume in the YouTube so we don't get like a 5-second delay happening all at the same time. Sorry, because I didn't hear any of your responses to the Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah, I saw that. It was kind of expected, fortunately.
He's ancient.
And he's had like health issues in the recent times, so. But still.
C'est comme ça. Bah. Right. Waiting for the clock to turn to 12:30. Can you hear my traffic out there? No?
A wee bit, but it's all right.
Okay. All right, here we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Finn Whitley, and you're here for the YouTube live discussion on the hospitality industry, with particular attention today to the fantastic brand called Toni and Guy, which operates in a number of places throughout the UK. And also we're going to have a look at local, good, fantastic, great chain only based in Edinburgh called Charlie Miller. So this is going to be particularly of use for anybody in the hairdressing sector or barbers, because we know you've all gone back to work this week and it's been crazy busy and you've all been thinking about your waiting lists and everything like that, and you're all packed out. And I managed to get my hair done yesterday in celebration for today's talk on hair marketing. So in the room today, we have the beautiful Emily, Petra, Alberto, and Amy. Alberto not so beautiful, perhaps more handsome than beautiful. And they're all part of the Supersize Media team who have been studying hard to make sure that we understand exactly what hair companies need to be doing to make sure that they're not leaving any money on the table. And we understand that at the moment, you know, everybody's going to be flurrying in and making sure that your bookings are going to be absolutely to the max. But it won't take a couple of months before they start dipping off again. So this is where your marketing has to kick off. So we're going to be talking in depth today about Charlie Miller's and Toni and Guy. My name, by the way, is Finn Wycherley, and I run We Supersize Media Digital Marketing Agency. I'm a BBC expert speaker, and you can find me doing all kinds of training all around the world on social media issues. All right, so I'm going to share my screen while we look at the first issue of the day, the first company that we're going to look at today, which is Mr. Toni and Guy. So let me see if I can get that all set up. All right, Toni and Guy, come on down. All right, so who's got some insight into what do you think about the website, first of all? We're going to just look at the websites first, and then we're going to have a look at the Facebook, the Instagram, the Twitter. And then I noticed that Charlie Miller's is not on Pinterest, not on YouTube. So we'll just be looking at those platforms as regards Toni and Guy, and why maybe other hairdressing companies need to be thinking about those other platforms too. All right, so who wants to get us kick-started with a bit of analysis to do with the branding, the website, the navigation, the traffic, and all that type of stuff?
Firstly, I found it very easy to navigate on the Toni and Guy website. I found that their commands to action and their calls to action combined with very bold, big labels and bubbles to just tap in. I thought that was excellent, and I don't always see websites designed so user-friendly nowadays. So yeah, I really admire their navigation.
Nice. It's good to have a website that's easy to navigate in it. It just makes the user experience so much easier as well. So what do you think about their focus on kind of high fashion, the fashion fashion week, London Fashion Week and everything?
Personally, that's my favourite aspect of their branding, because you know, that's not an easy contract to get, and I think if you do get that contract, you should be bragging about it, and it does create a sort of really strong image in my mind of like the sort of brand they are. So they're edgy, they're creative, you know, they're sort of really pushing for this. Also, because it's London Fashion Week, you're saying, well, they're a British company, and then you're thinking about what is different from London to the other fashion weeks. It's a bit more edgy, it's a bit more cool, it's a bit more ahead of the curve. That's what London brings to the fashion world. So I think it's very clever marketing, and yeah, you should be bragging if you're part of such a huge event.
So would you say that they're attracting the kind of 18 or 15 to 35-year-olds, or are they going after the older generation?
It's probably definitely that target, the 18 to 35. I mean, if you look at the faces on their website and also on their social media platforms, they seem to embrace that sort of target audience. So they want that in their stores. But at the same time, I suppose it's a quite high-end place, so that it costs a bit more money than other places. And we all know that younger generation have less disposable income. But there is definitely a niche in the target audience of people who can actually afford having a cut at Toni and Guy.
Yes. See, I think obviously young people do have less money, but it's where young people spend their money. Like, so if you look at luxury makeup brands and hair care as well, a lot of them, like your sort of Max and your Glossy, it's the young people with not a lot of money who buy those brands. Do you know what I mean? Young people, especially due to Instagram, are obsessed by the way they look. So they will spend more on a haircut than they would on food, or like more on makeup than they maybe would on like homeware, because they're obsessed in the way they look and how they present themselves online.
Exactly. And then of course, they have the options in the hair to go to the local one round the corner, which is nice and cheap and cheerful and very friendly. And it's got all the older women in there having their blue rinse maybe. And obviously, you can pay for that kind of experience, or you can pay to go into the ones that make you feel intimidated because everybody's so fashionable, and then you have to pay a lot of money in order to make sure you get that sense of, yeah, this is the absolute latest kind of fashion hair that you could ever possibly get in Edinburgh or any other area as well. Yeah, so people will pay a lot more to make sure that they're up to date with the latest trends for sure. Brilliant. How about traffic? Did we find anything about traffic? What kind of traffic they were getting, and how many people are coming in from the different social media platforms?
They've got pretty huge traffic, and especially in the last month, it has almost doubled for obvious reasons. And they have a average visit of 1 minute 27 seconds, and people usually look at around 3 pages per session. And the predominant market, of course, is the UK, because also at the time shops in other parts of the world that they have are currently closed due to the pandemic. I was searching also the most referred sites, and there seemed to be quite huge traffic coming from Indeed, and that again makes sense because I understand that there are a lot of people now, especially in that industry, looking for jobs, and with salons reopening, they're probably hiring few more people, so that makes absolutely sense. And in terms of like where people go after visiting Toni and Guy website, most of the traffic is directed to their booking system, which again is understandable because people want to get a haircut right now. Mm-hmm. And the traffic from social media mainly comes from 3/4 comes from Facebook, while 1/4 comes from YouTube. I wasn't able to look at other results. Those were the only two showing up. So I'm sure Instagram as well pulls a lot of traffic. And what else? Yeah,
brilliant. No, that's really, really useful. And are they making any use of ads? Are they using the ads at all? Did anybody ever find out if they were?
They do use some ads, especially in industry-related websites, some like magazines, and I haven't found them using ads on Facebook and Instagram at the moment, and not even in the past. It wasn't showing anything, but they definitely do in terms of like Google ads, like website and pay-per-click, I guess. Things like that.
Brilliant. Excellent. That's good to know. So I would imagine, therefore, that they're leaving it because this is a franchise, as I understand it. So therefore, they're going to be spending a lot of time in their marketing to make sure that the brand is really strong. But then the local franchises will be in charge of their own local marketing, I would imagine. It'd be interesting to have a look at that in more detail if we get a chance to talk to anybody who's doing the marketing for Toni and Guy. Awesome. All right. So that's any other final thoughts on the Toni and Guy website before we move on to look at the Charlie Miller?
Just one thing, I quite like the fact that at the very top of the website, they highlight their safety measures for COVID response with this We Care Client Promise document. And they've done like an incredible job in order to make the environment safe make people as well feeling safe when they visit. So I think that's something that any sort of business should do right now. Whether you're a restaurant, you're a pub, you sell anything, making people feeling safe and even brag about the work that you've done over lockdown to make people safety a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. And I think they all are. They're all mandated within an inch of their life to make sure all the safety precautions for when they open up are in place, not just with the physical store, but also with the online store as well. So I just caught a glance of the Charlie Miller COVID-19 recommendations as well on this one. So I think they're all pretty much making sure that the clients know what to expect when they're coming in, because obviously the stylists and the salon don't want to be cutting anybody's hair when they're not protected from the infection as well. Awesome. Okay, so Charlie Miller, let's go. Who's got some insight on what's been happening with our local fantastic chain called Charlie Miller?
No, I was just going to add to this, like after the lockdown reopening, that I saw that Charlie Miller, they even posted a picture on Instagram and Facebook as well, with like for customers, like with some like measures which they're gonna take and what to expect. So they even made a post about it, which I found really useful.
Nice. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Any thoughts on the brand and the website then for Charlie Miller?
I think that their website is very accurate to their branding, but the one thing that I spotted through looking at their website is that they have a special offer. It's for 30% off a certain deal, but I had to go towards the very bottom of the page before I could actually come across it. And that had I seen that offer earlier near the top of the page, then I may have decided, right, Charlie Miller is a place that I would like to go. So I feel like they've potentially missed a trick just by not having that offer easy to navigate by the top of their page.
And whereabouts is it? I'm down at the bottom of the page now.
If you scroll up a wee bit, it's in that grid, the reopening colour offer.
So that'll be their Instagram feed then. Well, that's interesting, because then they're not necessarily updating on the website, but they're updating on their social media. And personally speaking, you know, I follow quite a number of hairdressers in Edinburgh locally, and I'll often see in the stories section if they've got some last minute offers, for example. So they've had a cancellation, and so if you want to have your nails or your hair done or whatever, there's 20% off so long as you book in the next 24 hours type thing. So this is where social media really comes into its own when it comes to marketing last minute offers and deals for the customers. Yeah. Fantastic. Any other ideas and thoughts on the branding and the website and the navigation and everything, or even the traffic?
Unfortunately, there was no traffic available. I don't think they get enough for the website to record it. But the branding is, I quite like it, to be honest. It's a simple website, and it does the job. And it's got everything that you would expect from an hairdresser website. So you can book, you can buy gift vouchers, you can even shop their products, and you can have a look at their social media feed. So yeah, not really nothing to say about that.
Awesome.
It looks good. I like the colors as well, the contrast.
Yeah, the black and the gold.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's crack on and move into Facebook then. So let's have a look at the Charlie Miller hairdressing experience on Facebook. They've got nearly 8,000 fans on their Facebook, and I can see at a glance that the content that's going out on their Instagram is also going out onto their Facebook as well. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And these kind of before and after type of posts are always super effective, aren't they? Any comments on that? And it's good to see that they have the Facebook shop set up. We always love a Facebook shop. I would imagine they also have the Instagram shop set up too.
Yes, yeah, they do.
Yeah, brilliant. And so what that means for anybody who's not aware of what the Facebook shop is that if you have a post, for example, here, you can actually tag one of your products if it's featured in the post. So therefore, when somebody's on their mobile phone and then they like the look of that particular product, they can just click on it inside that particular post, and it will take them straight into the shop where they can find out more information about that particular product. And then if they're in the UK or anywhere outside of America, then they can click through and it will take them straight to the correct page on the website for being able to purchase directly. Whereas normally if you don't have a Facebook shop, it means you can't tag anything. And normally if it's taking you through to the website, it's just going to take you through to the landing page or the kind of product and sales page, where you have to go around and looking for that particular bottle that you were interested in purchasing. So it means that the navigation and the sales potential from Facebook and Instagram is now accelerated massively. So anybody who's selling any kind of products from a hairdressing environment needs to 100% set themselves up quickly on Facebook shops and Instagram shops as well. Any other comments coming in on terms of what they're doing on Facebook?
Well, I really like how they are trying to use, or they are using this like golden color on the post as well as on the website, and also like the same fonts. So they're like trying to create this like brand color and brand font, which I think it's really good.
I think their content works better on Facebook than it does on Instagram, just because when you see the feed, which we will do in a minute, I think it looks quite messy. Like I know they've got a colour scheme, but sometimes they go off it, and it's not very aesthetically pleasing when you see it all together. And I know some people don't really bother about that, but on Instagram especially, you want it to look good because people are on Instagram for like satisfying looking posts and feeds.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about Instagram, we'll have a good look at the aesthetics of the grid, which not a lot of people are aware of, but it's something to bear in mind as you're thinking about the difference between people's experience of your products, your brand, your service on the different social media platforms. Yeah, Petra, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I just feel that like they focus much more on Facebook, because like they even have like more followers, and I think it's more like their customers is like a little bit maybe older generation than comparing to Toni and Guy. So it's more like people that are like 30, maybe 40, like so. And these people, I think they are more on Facebook than on Instagram. So that could be why they just like spend more time on their Facebook content.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really, really good point. So it seems like they must be leaving a lot of money on the table by not putting much more emphasis on Instagram either, because obviously that's where the kind of younger generation tends to hang out compared to Facebook. Anybody under 25 who's not on Instagram is faking being under 25, I would say. Okay, so any last comments on Facebook before we move swiftly over to Toni and Guy's Facebook as a comparison? We all good? All right, let's have a look at Toni and Guy. So the last piece of content they put up there was 2 hours ago. They have 140,000, and obviously that's to be expected because they're an international brand that services across a number of different countries. But we can see they've put up a piece of content 2 hours ago. 6 hours ago, and then yesterday, and then yeah, so it seems to be about two posts per day that they're putting up. Would that be right?
Yeah, sometimes they even do like 3 or 4 posts, like when I was going like more down, even like 4 posts a day.
Wow. And the good thing is that I can see instantly is that they're unlike Charlie Miller's, they're putting up more than one image per post, because the one thing that you must do in order to make sure that your posts are really popping is make sure you don't have just one image going up there. Have at least 1 or 2, a carousel type post, or then even better, have some kind of video or animation going on there too. And we've got all the Facebook shop activities going on with the range of activities. Are they using any ads? Yeah, we did discover that they are using ads, aren't they? What about Charlie Miller? Were they using any ads at all? Did anybody look at that?
No, they were not using any.
No ads at all. Okay, that's a shame. And obviously, when we're looking at the ads, we look at the historical use of ads, not just current. Obviously, you can understand that nobody needs to use the ads at the moment because they're getting a big influx and they haven't had necessarily a massive traffic in the last couple of months, but we're looking at their historical use of ads too. And remember, the ads are all about making sure that your message goes in front of the target audience on a regular basis, so that when somebody decides to themselves, okay, I'm ready to go for a haircut, where shall I go? These guys, Charlie Miller or whoever, seem to be on my newsfeed regularly with some really inspiring looks. I'm going to try them out type thing. So that's a really, really strong way to make sure that you are front of mind rather than just be posting up on your newsfeed and hoping that maybe 5% of your fans will actually see your content. All right. And what do you think about their use of hashtags within Toni Guy on Facebook?
They're quite generic hashtags, very large hashtags. But I mean, I suppose Toni and Guy do have the following where a lot of people already know who they are. So I feel like maybe they've already established themselves. Although I do still feel like they could go a little bit more direct, and they could perhaps bring in a bit more of their London Fashion Week themed hashtags just to remind people of their brand, really.
Yeah, I'm a bit kind of perplexed about what they're doing with their whole hashtag and tagging kind of experience, because you know, it looks like they're trying to tag the people who were doing the makeup, the people who were doing the hair, the people who were doing the photography and the stylist, but they haven't tagged them properly, you know? They've just put a hashtag stylist, but then and mentioned their name, but not tagged them in it. I wonder what that's about. Because obviously, if you put in hashtag hair or hashtag photo, you know, it's going to take you to a whole range of random photo related content in Facebook. And it certainly won't take you anywhere near where this Katerina Pavicic will be hanging out. So it's kind of, I'm just curious about what their strategy is with that one. With this one, you can see that they're using 3 hashtags, which is great. We don't want any more than 3 hashtags on any Facebook experience. Often a lot of companies will make the mistake of feeding their Instagram feed into Facebook and then making it like too hashtag heavy. So it just gives you the impression that they're not actually spending any time on Facebook. Again, there's strange kind of tagging hashtag experience going on there. And then this one, yep, we can see that that makes a bit more sense there. All right, we're running out of time rapidly. We've only got 5 more minutes to actually finish off. So let's jump quickly into the into the Instagram experience for Charlie Miller and see what's going on there. Any thoughts on Instagram for Charlie Miller salons?
I was just checking their engagement rate, and they've got 2.15%, which is, it could be better, but it's still, it can grow, let's say. And of course, as we highlighted before, the content is the same as Facebook. but they do use highlights and stories, and they also have a Linktree link in their bio to redirect customers to different websites. And they only have one reel, yeah, that one, which was actually quite popular, but they tend to do more Instagram TV. So I think that's their choice. And they've done quite a lot of tutorials during lockdown for the customers, which is a way to feel closer to them, even if your shop is not open, so that they know that you're still there and taking care of their
Brilliant.
needs.
And what do you think about their use of hashtags? Are we rating the hashtag game?
They don't seem, they do post hashtags at the end of the caption, but they don't really see to comment with the rest of the hashtags. So we know we have like 30 hashtags available on Instagram, so you can put 3 to 4 in your main caption and then follow up with a comment with the rest of them. They don't seem to do that. And the same thing goes for Toni and Guy. So they do the hashtag jobs, but just half of it, let's say.
Yeah, so the reality is with the Instagram, you have potential for 30 hashtags with each post. You don't necessarily want to make it too hashtag heavy, because this looks a bit kind of on the heavy side. Again, we would, from just an aesthetic perspective, put in a couple of hashtags within the caption, and then all of the rest of the hashtags go into one of the comments, and therefore you don't lose the aesthetics of the experience of that particular post. That's our recommendation, and it seems to work for a lot of different companies as well. Any other thoughts on, so let's go rapidly, we only got 3 minutes left. Let's go rapidly over to Toni and Guy on Instagram. What are our thoughts? Obviously, as anticipated, they've got 211,000 followers. They're only following 1,000 people. They've been posting 3,700 times. They've got a nice vertical grid, so they seem to be respecting the kind of Instagram aesthetics a bit better. And they're making good use of the highlights, which are very clear and easy to use. And of course, they're using the stories. What else are we finding from Instagram?
I think the biggest shock for me was that their engagement was 0.15%, which is actually the lowest engagement rate I've seen of any Instagram page that I've looked into. But although they've got these stories and they've got the video content, I was really expecting their engagement rate to be higher than that.
I think it's because it's very impersonal, like it's very cold, their feed, and I don't think it's very imaginative. Like I think they're just posting photos. It's almost like the hairdresser version of just posting your product like 100 times. I think they need to shake things up or give some advice. I researched quite a lot of hairdresser accounts, and the best one I found was this one called the Hair Bros, who done loads of interactive content, a lot of Q&As, and I thought that their account was really strong. It was all hair related stuff, but it was loads of advice heavy, and yeah, I thought that was a better example.
So these are the Hair Bros. They've got 33,000 followers. They, okay, so they have similar, they don't have those, you're right, they don't have those kind of product shots, you know, the kind of highly stylized, you know, very expensive kind of photos, which work, but it's nice to have a kind of a more human approach sometimes with social media in order to get the engagement up. What was the engagement rate up on here?
It doesn't work very well. The sort of checking engagement doesn't work on my computer, sadly.
No.
But they do seem to get more likes, and like look at that 71k stuff, and like 149 seem to have a really strong fan base and loyal people who like their stuff.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that's a really, really important thing to think for large brands to think about, because obviously, you know, especially for the brands that have been established before social media came around, they often try to just replicate the marketing strategies of their traditional marketing and then plump it right into the social media, whereas it doesn't work like that. Social media has a completely different feel. It's much more community based. It's a different kind of aesthetic, and it's not a kind of dumping ground for all your PR updates type thing. Not to say that this is what's happening, but that tends to be an overall tendency for large and well-established companies that have existed before social media world happened. Okay, so we're basically running massively out of time. So I'm just going to ask you now to just jump in with any other kind of comments, thoughts on what they've been doing, maybe on Twitter, or any other insights that you have to share today.
As for Toni and Guy, I looked them up on YouTube and I noticed that their YouTube hasn't been performing quite as well in the last sort of 2 years. It's only really had maybe 500 to 1,000 views per video, whereas I think it was 2 years ago I found a video. It was called How to Personalize Your Next Haircut, and that had 65,000 views, and it was quite a standout video. But I think that's because people like the personalization within a service, and of course hair is such a personalizable thing that for any hairdressers out there, I would really recommend that they would just make their content and everything very personalizable. And I found a Facebook page for a Dunfermline-based hair salon. They're called Innovate Hair Salon, and I noticed they have a lot of comedy based in their content on Facebook, and they're like showing how worn out they are after their day. And I just think that's what maybe Toni and Guy are maybe missing out on. Like, there's just no personable content that everyone can relate to.
Interesting. That's quite a challenge, though, because of the fact that it's a large brand, and they are providing the kind of marketing benchmark for all of their franchises. So I would imagine that it would be quite challenging for them to be able to, you know, I think they can move much more in the direction of being community, much more soft touch and approachable, definitely, in their overall marketing activities. But again, it's a really tricky tension that they've got between, you know, allowing the local companies to actually have that flow and flair that they need with their local marketing as well. All right, any final thoughts before we wrap up? We all good? Awesome. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Next week, we have another fantastic session coming up, all about, what is it about? Retailers. So I'll do that one again. So next week, we've got another YouTube live session at 3:30 on Friday, where we're going to be talking about the fantastic retailers. We're going to be looking at Net-a-Porter, and then local retail company Amazon.Scot. So we're going to be analyzing how they're performing on their social media, what needs to be improved on their website and their branding, and give you all the juice and the dirt. So want to hear all your comments down below. If you loved our review, our marketing clinic, and if there's any particular topics or companies you would like us to cover, we'll look at the large organizations within a particular sector, as well as the local companies as well. So on that note, thank you so much from me, Finn Wycherley, and also from Emily, Petra, Alberto, and Amy from the Supersize Media Gang. Cheers, and see you next time. Boom. I think we're done.